welcome back to Between Sessions. My name is Ebony Harris.
And I'm Elisa Bokeen, and we are two brown chicks changing the face of therapy on both
Both sides
sides
of the
of the
couch.
couch.
You love to sing it.
Like, I didn't get to do it last week, so I was feeling it
Yeah,
today.
we skipped a week. I thought I was gonna be able to be like in like work mode, and I was like, that's not.
Right. It's
I
downtime.
think
We all need downtime.
right. I need a little break. And especially with it being the end of the year, it's always like, okay, it feels like break mode is coming. Like it's supposed to be time to take a break of some sort. So
Man, we needed a break back in May.
that's true. That is true. So thank y'all for joining and watching. Today we will be talking about why we needed a break back in May, but more importantly, like how do we continue? Why are we showing gratitude at the end of 2020, even though it's been a pretty chaotic year, even though there has been
Hell,
so much happening in the world, in our personal lives, like it's been a lot. But we are choosing gratitude, and so we wanted to have a conversation about that, mainly about like the benefits of choosing gratitude.
absolutely. And, before we get started, I want to really acknowledge like, we are by no means minimizing the devastation of this year, how tragic this year has been. And we realize that this idea of how do I choose gratitude after a year like 2020, it is really asking us to stretch, right? Like for us to stretch, especially, if you were impacted extra hard this year. And so we don't want to downplay that by any means, but Ebony and I are big on how do we look at each situation and challenge ourselves, in how we look at it. You have taught me a lot of that, whether you did it intentionally or unintentionally, which is more like you just kind of modeled for me. A lot of times I've said this before, you have a way of like looking at things, you're like, well, ain't got no control over that, so I'm gonna just focus on what I got control over, where
Mm-hmm.
I would be spinning and spinning and spinning. And so that's really the sentiment that we're having going into this, as to why we are stretching ourselves to look for the gratitude in this year.
Yeah, and being able to see that there can be some good even amongst the chaos, and I think that's hard sometimes, especially depending on how you have been impacted. It can be extremely difficult to see that, and so we want to talk about like what we want to make sure that it's in a way that's like Elisa said, like respectful to the fact that like this year has been tough, but also in a way that this is a skill that you want to always be honing, and you want to always continue to like work on and get better at, because it will help you in whatever situation you find yourself in, where you're able to say, yes, this is tough, but also look at this, or also
Right.
I am grateful for this. So we didn't talk about this beforehand, so tell me if you don't want to do this. But before we get into like the benefits of it, should we share something that we're grateful for? And I can't now. I'm like, I gotta think of something. I gotta think of
Mm-hmm.
something. But do you mind like us sharing like something that we're grateful for this year?
We gotta practice what we preach, right?
Okay,
So,
okay. We didn't discuss it, so I was like, I don't want to throw it.
yeah.
The first thing that I thought of was with the shift, and of course everyone having to stay at home, with just all of the things that have happened, it's literally forced us to kind of shift our businesses. Well, let me speak for myself. It's forced me to shift my business. I was already seeing clients virtually here and there, but I think, one, I am grateful for the belief that like we could be virtual and we could still make money, because that was a big fear, right? Even to the point like I was in the office like a week longer than you, because I was like, I don't know,
Yeah.
um, but then also I think another piece of that, what I'm grateful for, is the benefits that my clients have seen from this, and the fact that people are continuing to get the help they need, and people are continuing to see growth and movement in their life in a good direction, even though we had to be virtual. And so I think that has helped. I'm just grateful to have been forced into this, because it really, I don't think we would have tried this any other way, because it has shown me that we are able to maneuver or pivot or shift as needed. And that doesn't mean that it has to be completely devastating and we may lose everything. We didn't lose everything in that. So I'm extremely grateful for that because that's helped me. Like to your point, I already kind of have a mindset of like, well, just got to do what I got to do. But I also am very much, I've started to use this phrase a lot more because I've always felt like I was a very, what's the word? I was a risk taker, and I'm recognizing I'm not. I'm very calculated in my risks, and so this it's kind of proof in like, okay, you can do things, and things can just kind of work out. This just isn't something I would have just done. That's all I'm saying. And so I'm typically very
Right.
calculated and making, like, when I make decisions, it's time. I've thought about it for a very long time, and I've put things in place like fail safes and things like that. Where this is kind of just being thrown into it, and it worked out. And so I'm extremely grateful for that. And I think that's going to help me even shift even more into like, you can take more risk, you can do more things, and it'll work out. Um,
I can do hard things.
I can do hard things,
That's right.
and it's going to
Yes.
work out one way or the other.
Yep.
Even if it
We'll find
doesn't
a
work
way.
out, that's not necessarily a bad thing. So,
Right. I
mm,
love that. Yeah, definitely. I can echo a lot of that with on the career professional end. I think for me, what I'm most grateful for is on the family level is that I had mentioned to you this last year, my oldest was graduating from high school, so I was having some anxiety last
mhm,
year. I'm like, this is the last year that I will be able to spend as much time with my babies, and they're not babies no more, right? They're teenagers, but they're not babies. And our family, all of us being together, and these days are over. And I was like, and I have been working a lot. I actually have been working a lot the last couple of
mhm,
years. And to the point last year, I was at the point of exhaustion at the end of the year. And so this year, being forced to stay at home, and then my oldest ended up staying home instead of leaving for college, which worked out beautifully also because everybody's online anyways, the schools are online. But I even though it's been a headache and stressful, and parents, you will understand this, and parents with little kids, my heart goes out to you because trying to parent these teenagers has been hard enough. Um, but I think the us being home all together as much as we are, it brought us back to times before when I was full time mom,
mhm,
and reconnected us as a family. And I feel like I kind of got like these extra cheat years,
mhm.
like with my kids, where they normally would be out and about. So it's like I can't complain after this year. Like you had the all the time. Time for them to fly.
Yeah,
But I'm really grateful because there would have been no other way that I would have this much time with my kids, being the age that they are, me working, being in private practice and self-employed, and commuting every day to work for an hour there, an hour back,
mhm.
depending on the traffic. So I'm grateful for the time it's given me with my family. And again, I feel like almost like I got this bonus year of time with them. So I'm really grateful for that. Plus,
That's awesome.
our dog is loving it. She's like, everybody's always home
Karma
and
getting
I'm
all the
being
attention.
loved on. She doesn't have to wait for anybody to come home. She's dreading us going back to life outside the home.
That's funny. That's funny. All right, so let's talk about some benefits of being able to show gratitude. Like, what are the positives that come from that?
Yeah. Well, I think the first one is it quite literally rewires our brain. So as humans, we have a negativity bias, right? Where our brain is looking for that which can go wrong. That is part of how we're wired in order to survive.
Mhm.
So if I see in my lawn, I can swear that's a snake,
Yep.
and I'm ready to kill that snake, but it turns out to be a hose, a water hose, you know, maybe I was a little startled, but I was ready to take that snake out. So we have this negativity bias. And so by practicing gratitude, we are quite literally rewired our brain to look for the good,
Right.
right? We are looking for that which we are grateful. When we set the intention at the beginning of the day, or set the intention right now where we're talking about this year in review. Let me go back to see what can I actually be grateful for. I would say number one, if you are still
Yeah.
here,
Yeah.
like that is, huge. I mean, what? It's like 300,000 people now at this point that
Yeah.
have lost their lives. So, so really forcing ourselves to go back and like, okay, what is it that I can give gratitude for, will help us to rewire our brain and look for it.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's one of those things. This whole gratitude is a practice, just like everything else, right? And so that's part of it, is like slowly as you my lipstick went away. Slowly as you kind of force it, and it becomes a more as you're making it a habit of something that you're doing, then you'll start to notice how there'll be times when you weren't intentionally doing it in the workout. So that's what you're saying, as far as like your brain then starts to say, oh, I can, yes, I see this danger, but I can also look for this other part too. It becomes such a normal piece. So that's great. And I think with that, along with rewiring your brain, it kind of is along the same lines, is that it shifts your mindset from a place of, finding problems or feeling like a victim of problems, to being more of a growth minded, right? Because if even in struggle, even during the most difficult time, if I can find something that went well, or something that, I'm grateful for, right? I just thought of another one that, mm, maybe not, I don't know. Anyways, but you can find something, because I'm thinking. So I just said, so my if I want to cut it out later. My dad died in February, and I won't even lie, I was grateful that he wasn't in a nursing home in March. Like I
Man,
wouldn't have been able to spend as
yeah,
much time with him during his last days. So that's a very strange thing to be grateful for, but I truly am.
yeah,
So it's I think sometimes we have a hard time like finding it, because like, this is, everything is horrible. Like, how can you find anything to be grateful for? But I think if you really start, as you start to do that, your brain rewires, and it goes toward that, like, yes, it's an obstacle, but I can also jump over it, right? So everything doesn't become an obstacle. It becomes like, oh, look, I learned I could do something new, or look, I found a way to kind of make it through this. Like, it becomes like, oh, this is something else that's good that's happening, or this is something else, a new skill that I've gained, or whatever the case may be. So that's shifting your brain as well to be more of growth, have a growth mindset. And so I think that's an extremely important part of having gratitude.
yeah. I think one thing to kind of add to that, as I'm listening to you, is how we can also keep track of these things for which we're grateful for.
Mm.
And a great way to do that is by writing things down.
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
know, writing the things down, that helps to also, it does something with our brain as
It
well, right?
does.
Like
Yeah.
writing it down. And I think the other part is that you can look back, and you can look back to also see your growth. I do this often. I've kept journals my whole life that I can remember. I don't ever finish them. I just kind of write it here, write it there, because I got a thing for journals and paper. Um, but I was even looking at this myself. Like I mentioned, like last year, I was so burnt out at the end of the year and lots going on. And it was funny because I was looking at a journal, that same journal, almost a year exactly to the date, and seeing like just how much I had overcome
Yeah.
within that year. I was like, wow, this time last year, I would have never thought that I was going to get out of this,
Mm-hmm.
place that I was in, and like, look where I'm at now. And
Mm-hmm.
so that helps to serve as a reminder down the line, because I know other times will come. The storm will continue to come. We're going to continue to have challenges. We're going to be continue to be brought to our knees, because grief is as much of a part of living, as
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
And so, in order for us to be able to navigate those storms, I think we have to be able to not only take inventory of that which we're grateful for, but to memorialize that in some way, because it's so easy for us to forget.
Yeah. I think that's very, very true.
I think that like what you were saying also about having this growth mindset. I think the other part to that and why gratitude is also um, an option to consider is because it it helps us to feel more empowered. We take a more empowered decision where we can say, yes, all of this has happened. And I think that's the thing about humans is we want everything to be this or that,
Yeah.
all or nothing when life is not like that. We want things to fit in these specific categories, but life can't be drilled down, like to a certain amount of categories. That's just not
Yeah.
how it is. And so I think if we can remember, yes,
Yeah.
this year was what it was, and so when we are able to take that position of there was a lot of devastation. This may have been the worst year of my life, but I still have my breath,
Mm-hmm.
right? But
Mm-hmm.
and like, I'm still have a roof over my head, or I'm still able to experience joy, whatever that is. Like, there's a certain resistance in practicing gratitude also, because what you're doing essentially is you're taking back your power.
Mm-hmm.
That situation, which should have taken you out, could have taken you out,
Yeah.
hasn't, right? And so I think when we're able to really stand in our power, and we can do that by something as simple as practicing gratitude.
Yeah. I like that a lot because I think that's it. It's I can only control what I can control. And there's so much in the world happening that we cannot control. And so, like you said, I have the power to choose what I focus my energy on. I have the power to choose um, where I spend my time. And so instead of spending our time in the devastation, right? We're gonna acknowledge it. We're gonna, you know, we're not gonna pretend like it's not happening, but that doesn't
Right.
mean I have to hang out there the whole time, you know?
Exactly.
So
I
I
think
like
it's
that a lot.
about movement, right? Like, because that's
Yeah.
that's the thing about life. Life is ever shifting, ever changing. Life is constantly moving. I mean, I look at the like a lot. I've seen a lot because I love plants and my garden and all that. And those videos where they'll record their plants all day, and the plants are like, you see the plant is
Mm,
moving like all day
mm-hmm.
long. And so that's the thing. Life is constantly shifting and changing. So I think if we can keep that perspective in mind too. Yes, you're gonna feel the grief and the heaviness and the devastation, and it's okay. And we should. I think we
Yeah.
should feel all that. I'd be more worried if we weren't feeling that. But I can also continue to shift through it, and reach for the gratitude and reach for the places that I am able to find some joy, even if it's just for a moment.
Yeah. Yeah. And that goes into the when we talk about emotions in general, right? They're all moving. They're all you're not in one all the time. So I might have a hard day today. I might, struggle today, but tomorrow might be a better day, and I could be in that emotion that day. The excitement isn't gonna last all the time, but neither is the pain, and so trying to move yourself in, recognizing it again, but moving yourself in and out of it as needed, I think is really
Absolutely.
important.
Yeah.
Uh, I, well, I know the last one, we want to kind of talk about is that where you focus your energy is what you get more of, right?
Right.
Um, so if that kind of wraps all of this up, right, with the empowering and like this is where I'm going to choose to put my energy, the shift in the mindset, all of that. We know that where you focus your energy or what you focus on is what you get more of. And so we want to make sure that you are making the choice to add some gratitude as well, right? Because if we only are able to see just, and I don't know why I keep using the word devastation, but that's like the word that keeps
It's
popping in
been a devastating year.
my head.
It's pretty
Yeah,
accurate.
right. So if that's all I can see, then it's going to be hard to see anything else. But if you start to have that little inkling, that little seed of hope and that little seed of positivity, it can grow into something much bigger.
Absolutely. And yeah, whatever you focus on your energy on, that expands, right? And so not only, so we always talk about like how all of this is connected. So not only am I choosing to look for something to be grateful for, Now, what we also know is that our thoughts impact our emotions, right? So if I'm looking for gratitude, I'm already going to raise my mood a bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm practicing gratitude. And as I raise my mood, I'm going to physically feel better as
Mm-hmm.
well, right? And so it is a practice, and it's not going to make you immune to
Right.
everything that comes. We say this all the time. These are skills for you to manage the storm, but you can't prevent the storm.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if we can remember that if I'm holding on to, if I'm reaching for that, if I'm regularly reaching for that, then again, this idea of movement, I'll be able to move more in that direction. And with time, it's like what you said, that's what we really need in times of darkness, right? That's why we go
Yeah.
to therapy. We need somebody to help us, like, help me find that little seed of hope that you're talking about,
Mm-hmm.
even if it's just small, even if it's just a tiny little spark,
Right.
at this moment. Help me to see it, help me to find it. And the more that I go and I look for it and I cultivate it, the more it will grow. And the more that grows, the better I will feel. And the better I feel, the more clarity that I have, right? The better I am able to live out the responsibilities and the challenges. So again, this is a practice. It's not something that either of us have perfected,
Right.
but it's something that can inform us also, that serves as this anchor for us to kind of go back to when we feel like just everything is out of our control and not looking the way that we want it to. We can always reach for gratitude.
Yeah. I love that you said it's an anchor because it does. It takes you out of your mind or your body, and it kind of brings you back to like, okay, what's happening right now and what can I find to bring me back to like a different space.
Right.
So I think that's extremely important. So
Yes.
hopefully that was helpful.
Well, I'm feeling better already.
I truly was like, I feel good, just even in having this conversation. So I hope you have a good time and you feel better, even in just listening to it, and then thinking about
Yes.
ways that you can start to add gratitude. And I'm curious, what are you grateful for 2020? So leave those in the comments. Let us know. Put it in your social media stories and things like that. Let us know what you're grateful for.
We're
So
grateful for all of you, for all the support, for all
so
the
grateful.
listeners, for everybody that shares our social media
Yes.
content, for all of you who are regularly sending us, messages of support this year. I think that's one thing Melanin and Mental Health can be really grateful for this year. As much tragedy as there was, what it really did also was bring to the forefront um, people in our community that are here trying to help our communities heal,
Yeah.
right? Like there was a big focus on Black mental health, on Latinx mental health, and our well-being. And so I think that's one thing that I'm grateful for, because we were very fortunate. Melanin Mental Health got a lot of
Yeah.
support
Support.
and publicity, and awareness was raised. So we are definitely thankful for all of you who were part of that
Yeah,
support.
definitely, definitely. So if you like this episode, like the show, subscribe, comment, all of that. Follow us across social media at Melanin and Mental Health, Melanin Health on Twitter. And make sure you head over to melaninmentalhealth.com to find a dope therapist, to get some dope merchandise like that. My favorite sweatshirt. Therapy is dope. And also to listen to previous podcasts. And we will talk to y'all next time.